Well, good evening, Maryland. Thank you for having me tonight. Appreciate it. Appreciate you all giving me the time to listen for a few minutes here. Before I do, I want to introduce my wife, Mary Pat, who's right over here with me tonight. You know, 2024 is going to be a year where this country and our party is at a crossroads. We have to determine for ourselves as a party, and then hopefully to encourage the nation, that we got to get back to doing big things again. I am tired of watching us divide each other into smaller and smaller groups, to be arguing over small issues, to not be doing the things that the country needs for us to advance and to do better. What do I mean? I mean things like dealing with our Social Security problem. In 7.5 years, Social Security will be bankrupt. And if it goes bankrupt, if we let that happen, every person on Social Security will immediately get a 24% benefit cut. Now, the guys in Washington and women are not talking about that, but that's what will happen. And we know what that'll mean to our seniors across this country. It was Republicans who fixed Social Security in the 80s. Democrats have never shown an interest in doing it. They just like to take credit for Social Security. We've got to be the ones who do it. Second, we have an overdose problem in this country that is tragic. Last year, over 110,000 Americans died of an opioid overdose. 110,000 Americans. It is now the leading cause of death for young men in this country between 18 and 34. Think about that. And that fentanyl is pouring up through our southern border, manufactured by China and sold by Mexican cartels. The first thing I will do as president is to send the National Guard to the southern border to interdict that fentanyl, as much of it as we can, because every life is a precious gift from God, and we have to save every one of those lives, and we need to get doing that right now. And once that fentanyl gets up here and the other opioids and our folks get addicted, we have to treat it like a disease, everybody. It's no different than heart disease or cancer or diabetes. We need to treat our Americans who get addicted to this stuff. And a lot of them get addicted innocently, as you know. They have an injury, they have a pain problem. They start to take that stuff and it overtakes them. We need to have treatment available throughout the United States, and all of us have to make sure that we continue to talk about those people and embrace them. Because again, if we are the pro-life party, and I believe we are, we've got to be pro-life for the entire life, not just the 9 months in the womb, but the entire life. That's what we need to do. And those are big things that we need to do. We need to make sure that America remains the strongest economy in the world. And the only way to start that is to end our inflation here at home that was created by Joe Biden and the crazy spending that has happened down in Washington over the last nearly 3 years. We need to reduce government spending and get the government out of our lives. Now look, lots of people talk about that, but only people who live in a blue state know how bad government can be, right? You all know, we know it. We know that when the Democrats get in charge, we think we've seen government overrun before. We've never seen it like Democrats do it. But let me tell you, I took over for a big liberal Democrat in 2010, John Corzine, former CEO of Goldman Sachs, former liberal United States Senator. He had run our state into the ground. We had an $11 billion deficit on a $29 billion budget. And we balanced that budget without raising a nickel of taxes. You know how we did it? Cutting spending and getting government under control. We need a president who's going to bring the same discipline to Washington, D.C. and tell Congress, stop the spending. It's not your money. It's our children and grandchildren's money that you're spending now, not even ours. They're spending our children and grandchildren's money. You need a tough president who will say no to that. That's a big thing that needs to be done, and that's a big thing that I'll get done if you elect me president. America is not going to has never gotten bigger, stronger, or richer by filling the moat around America and pulling up the drawbridge. America has been the leader of the free world because we have been willing to make the sacrifices necessary to be a leader. And Look, in Ukraine right now, you have some candidates in this race who say that what's going on in Ukraine was a territorial dispute. Let me tell you what a territorial dispute is, everybody. When you get your property surveyed at home, and the surveyor comes back and says, bad news, your neighbor's fence is 4 inches onto your property, that's a territorial dispute. When an authoritarian Russian regime rolls tanks and artillery and missiles into a freedom-loving country to kill those people and take their land, that's not a territorial dispute. That is an assault on freedom and liberty in the world. And every time there's been an assault or freedom on liberty in the world, the United States has stood up. The Ukrainians don't want our soldiers. And as president, I wouldn't send our soldiers there. But we need to give them the weapons that they need to defend themselves and to ward off the Russians. And believe me, the Chinese are on the side of the Russians. They're buying their oil and they're funding this war. And this is a first proxy war with China. And everyone's watching what we're going to do or not do. If I'm president, we are going to make sure that the Ukrainians have everything they need to be able to win that war, and we send a lesson to Russia and to China. Do not mess with freedom around the world. We have about a quarter of a wall down on the southern border. It's not nearly enough. That wall needs to be finished. And we need to make sure that we have the personnel we need down on the border to stop this crazy illegal immigration into our country. As I said before, it's killing our citizens with the drugs that they're bringing over, but it's also killing the spirit of those people who follow the rules and wait in line to come to this country. I want this country to continue to be a country of immigrants who come here and make us bigger and bolder and stronger and harder working, but they need to come here legally, and we need to change these immigration laws. We failed by not changing the immigration laws. We failed by not finishing to build that wall. And what we need to do is finish the job and make sure that there is a smart, legal immigration system that allows America to fill all the jobs we need to make our economy go, and make sure that we stop those drugs from pouring in over our border. That's another big thing that needs to be done for the people of this country. Lastly, let me say this to you. I'm tired of losing. Now look, Maryland Republicans and New Jersey Republicans are uniquely qualified to discuss this issue. All right? We know how painful losing is. And we know the cost of losing. I remember what this state looked like back in 2014 after 8 years of Martin O'Malley. This place was a disgrace. It was awful. And that's the same way New Jersey looked after 4 years of John Corzine when I came into office. Republican leadership can make a difference, but we are not nominating candidates who will win elections. And I'm tired of losing. You know, in the introduction, Madam Chairwoman was nice enough to remind everybody that I was the first person to endorse Donald Trump in 2016 when I got out of the race. And I campaigned all over the country with him and for him. I chaired his transition to the White House. I chaired his opioid and drug abuse commission and came up with 120 recommendations that President Trump adopted, half of which got enacted by Congress as well. Now, I want you, you're going to have some trouble sleeping tonight when I tell you this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I want you to close your eyes, everybody, and picture this. I played Hillary Clinton in debate prep. Right? I played Hillary Clinton in preparing Donald Trump for those debates. If you can sleep after hearing that, then you are a good sleeper. And in 2020, I played Joe Biden. Now, I had to take a couple of sleeping pills before I did to make sure that I accurately depicted Joe Biden, but I did it. I worked as hard as I could for 4 years to try to make Donald Trump a better candidate and try to make him a better president. And I don't regret 1 minute of it. I really don't. But he has led us to nothing but losing, everybody. We lost the House in 2018. We lost the presidency in 2020. And in 2022, we lost governorships, we lost another seat in the Senate, and we didn't nearly get the number of House seats that we should have gotten, which is why we have a margin that's only this big in the House of Representatives. We need new leadership at the top of the ticket. And the fact is, in 2022, we nominated a lot of candidates that just were not prepared to win. And one of the reasons they weren't prepared to win was because they were forced to say that the 2020 election was stolen. Everybody, there are weird things that go on in every election. I'm from New Jersey, you're from Maryland, you know it's true. But we are not going to ever get leadership in this country back if we keep looking backwards, if we keep sounding like the party of whiners and moaners and complainers. Let me tell you what Maryland Republicans and New Jersey Republicans understand. When they lean on us, when they make it unfair, we just fight harder. I don't want to complain. I want to fight. And I want to bring the fight to Joe Biden. And that's what we need, somebody who's not burdened by all of this past moaning, complaining, whining, grievance politics. We need somebody who's going to say, Joe, you have done a lousy job for 4 years, and all you are today is 4 years older. And it's not going to get any better if we let you stay in office for another 4 years. I am going to tell the truth in this race because the truth matters. And we can't have different truths, everybody. We can't make ourselves smaller and smaller so that all we do is hang out with people who agree with us. All we do is watch news that agrees with us. We have a country that was designed to be an argument. The founders, the genius of the founders was to say, we want an America that's going to argue about issues, that's going to fight about issues, but then is going to resolve issues. It's going to resolve issues, not just keep fighting for the sake of fighting. I guarantee you this, no one had a tougher 8 years as a governor than I did. I had a Democratic legislature for all 8 years, every minute of all 8 years. And I have a state that, I mean, let's face it, we got a little bit of a chip on our shoulder. We're stuck between New York and Philly. Benjamin Franklin called New Jersey a keg, tapped at two ends. But that chip on our shoulder to get things done is exactly what I think we need in the White House in January of 2025. And it's certainly what we need to beat Joe Biden. Remember something. Joe Biden, other than the 2020 election, has never won a race outside the state of Delaware. Never once. And guess what? I am prepared to continue his losing streak in November of 2024 with your help. So we're going to tell the truth about everything that's going on. And let us not be the party, and I'll end with this, that makes excuses for bad conduct. Okay? We cannot be the party that ties ourselves in knots. When we see something that's bad, we need to say it, whether it comes from our party or the other one. And so don't put us in a position where we are behind the 8 ball in November of 2024, because believe me, everybody, if we have a backward, complaining, grievance-looking candidate like Donald Trump at the top of the ticket in 2024, he will not only lose, but he will drag down the candidates that run underneath him. And we will have a Democratic president, a Democratic Senate, and a Democratic House. And believe me, they had that for 2 years, and you saw what happened. Runaway inflation, disgrace around the world. We are a weaker country, an angrier country, a more divided country because Joe Biden has been our president. We cannot take the risk of not ending that in November of 2024. I will work as hard as I can, the same way I did in New Jersey, to earn your trust, to earn your support, to earn your faith, and to earn your vote. Give me the chance. Listen to what we have to say. Let's have a great Republican primary, and let's nominate a winning Republican candidate for president next summer. Thanks for having me tonight, everybody.